Now, I've been waiting for about a year to be able to get my hands on these lenses. Last year at NAB, Nisi released the Athenas. Now, these are cinema lenses that are not only high quality, but they're also pretty affordable as well. Now, they did send me the 14, 25, 35, 50, and the 85, and as I said, I think this is a pretty well-rounded kit. So much so that even though they're going to be releasing new lenses pretty soon, I feel like you should probably buy these because I think the price might go up eventually. But we'll get there. Now, a lot of affordable lens manufacturers have been able to actually keep the cost down, but also keep the build quality high in some of their lenses, and the Nisi Athenas aren't any different than those guys. These guys are actually made of the same aluminum housing that you'll see in a lot of cinema lenses, which means that they're made tough and they're built to last. Now, I actually got the PL version of these guys, and the reason why, because I wanted to use them on a variety of different cameras. At the time when I got this, I was using the Sony Murano, I was using the Blackmagic 6K, I also have some other cameras from other brands, and PL is the easiest because most camera mounts can mount onto PL. Now, one thing that you might want to keep in mind is you can get the versions with these with the drop-in filters, although it's not going to be the PL versions of these guys. So there is going to be a little give and take between the versatility and, well, getting lenses that you can put drop-in filters into. The Nisi Athenas also are a full-frame lens, so you can use them on Super 35 cameras or on full-frame cameras, which actually makes them quite versatile because I do have a Sony FX3 and a Sony FX30 on hand. You're still going to be working with manual lenses between the aperture and the focus throw. However, the longer focus throws mean that it's easier to dial in your settings, but DJI also released a bunch of things that made pulling focus way easier, and I'll leave that video at the end, especially because I actually used that with combination of the Focus Pro for one of the bigger shoots for this video. What I really like about the Nisi Athena is that they all match up, not only from a physical aspect, which makes it good for gimbal operation, but also in their filter thread as well. Across the board, you're going to be using a 77mm filter. Even this 14mm that still has this little lens hood and a bulbous element, you can actually still put filters on these because you still have the thread markings where you can mount it on there. Now, because there's going to be spaces between the grooves, you might want to use some gaff tape to close that up, but the fact that you can use 77mm circular filters like the other lenses in the set means that this is a kind of unique item because not a lot of cinema lenses have the ability to do that. In fact, other autofocusing lenses that are super wides don't have the ability to put filters on the front of the glass. One thing I've used with affordable lens sets is sometimes they don't match up all across the range, and with the Nisi Athenas, you actually get a good matching set. There's not a lot of difference between the color and the quality from the different focal lengths, which means that it's going to be easier for more professional productions and when you're using cameras that are going to match up and you need lenses to do the same. This camera also doesn't suffer a lot from focus breathing. I've used it on a couple of different focal lengths, and for the most part, it's pretty decently controlled. I also really like about the Nisi Athenas is its really close minimum focusing distance. Now, a lot of these lenses have a longer focus throw, which is great for dialing things in, and maybe one or two of the lenses have a little bit of a farther minimum focusing distance, but the 14mm itself actually has a really close focusing distance of about 3 inches, which means that one of the shots that I've been kind of warming myself up to in terms of getting a close perspective wide angle, I could actually do that from 3 inches away on this guy because its minimum focusing distance is only 1/4 of a foot. Now, one of the things people ask with affordable cinema lenses is whether or not the optical quality is going to be there. Now, instead of me just talking about and pontificating around the sharpness and chromatic aberration and the micro contrast and trying to explain what that means, I think I'm just going to play the footage and you can look at it for yourself. Incredibly clean, and some people might not like that, but when you're looking for your first set of cinema lenses, this might be the place to go. For a lot of people, it's really hard to fix things in post if the lens has too much character, whereas if you have something that's going to be clinically clean, you're able to move your way back and to make it what you want, especially in DaVinci Resolve. Oftentimes I go for clinically clean lenses and I use things like filtration and color grading in order to dial in the look that I'm going for. Some vintage lenses have their place, but if you are using something that's clinically clean, you have the option to actually have a clean canvas going into shooting with these guys and make the image whatever you want. In fact, I'm going to do a technical breakdown of this shoot with Jordan Astra in terms of all the camera gear that we chose for that shoot, and one of the decisions that we made is we kind of went more clinically clean in camera to give our colorist a way to actually push and pull the image exactly the way that we were looking for. It's a little bit easier to do that on the Nisi Athenas, but if you go with something with a little bit too much character, it might be a point of no return, and if you change your mind on the look, you might not be able to go back. Now, right now, at the time of making this video, the price is going to be about $10.99 per lens and around $5,000 to get the entire set. Now, the reason why I said you might want to pick them up now instead of later is because two different reasons. Number one is because I just think they're really good lenses and I think they're high quality, and I think everybody should give these a try to find out if it works for you. But two is, if you guys are history buffs, there was another affordable lens company that had cheaper lenses before, but as they started adding in lenses, they became more expensive. DZO made the Vespid Primes a few years ago, and when they came out with a similar set to these guys with about 4, 5 to 6 different focal lengths. And at the time, they were a little bit cheaper. They were around $10.99 or at the same prices that these guys are right now. As they started to add in more lenses, what ended up happening was the price slowly started to go up from $10.99 till around $13 or $12.99 respectively. One of those things, what happens with some cinema lens companies is as they add more lenses, the price might go up because technically the set becomes more valuable. And people are still paying that amount of money. However, if you could save a couple $100 in getting these today, even though you know you're gonna get them now rather than later, you may as well spend the money now and buy once and cry once. In fact, let's actually compare some of these focal lengths to the DZO Vespid Primes to find out what makes them different.
Now, between the Nisi Athenas and the DZO Vespid Primes, I don't find a gigantic difference. The world isn't shifting anytime you use one of these two lenses. However, I will point out that the majority of the Nisi Athenas are slightly faster primes than the DZO Vespids, at 1.9 versus the 2.1 and 2.4 versus 2.8 on the wider end. Now, comparing between the two of these guys, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, the DZO Vespid Primes are a little bit more of a vintage character. It's a little bit warmer and it's not as neutral and not as quote unquote clean as something with Nisi Athenas. However, those are incredibly subtle because the DZOs are still pretty sharp and still look like modern lenses. Overall, these two lenses are fairly close together. However, if it's going to be a $300 difference per lens, maybe the Nisi Athenas might be somewhere more up your alley.
That being said, a special shout out to Nisi for actually sending me these lenses to test out. I've been able to use them on a couple of different projects, and right now, if you're watching this video, I'm probably already at NAB where I'm probably still using these guys. If you're looking for a clean clinical set of lenses, I think these are a great place to start. They give you amazing quality, it's clinically clean, and it's sharp for people that need that kind of stuff. It also gives you a clean canvas to make the image that you want, and at the same time, it's pretty affordable as far as cinema lenses go. If you guys want to know about that Focus Pro I was talking about a little bit before, I'm actually going to leave a video right over here. I think it's a game changer for a lot of people that are using cinema lenses and want more autofocus, but there is a couple of caveats that you need to be aware of. And you guys can go check that out, but I'll see you in the next one. Peace.